Hello everyone, this is SyntaxError and welcome to another video, another tutorial. In today's video, we're going to be looking at how to code a boomerang. Now, this video idea was suggested by someone in the comments. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So if we go ahead and run the command give boomerang, it will give us this boomerang with custom lore and everything. And what it will do is that whenever we left click or right click, it will shoot out a boomerang and it will go back to wherever it was shot from. Yeah. And the good thing about this boomerang is that much like the Hypixel Skyblocks boomerang, it actually does damage to mobs. So if we can go ahead and if we can find a mob that's alive, okay, I give up. I'm just gonna summon in a Ravager. We can actually see that it will damage the mob. Yeah. So let's get straight into the coding then. For the coding part, we are back in our custom items plugin, which we have been doing for the past few weeks. And there are timestamps in the description. So if you want to skip how to create the item and the item commands, you can go ahead and skip straight to the function of the item through the timestamps in the description below. So the first thing that we're going to head into is our item manager class. And we are going to go create the item stack first. So public static items, that's the wrong capitalization, item stack, and we're going to call it boomerang. I hope that's the correct spelling. And then we're going to go all the way down and type in private static void and call it create boomer. That's the wrong one. Create boomerang. Put our brackets and our curly brackets. Then we can put an item stack item equals to new item stack. And the material for our boomerang is gonna be a bone. So we're just gonna type in material.bone in the brackets of the item stack and type a comma 1 as its amount. Then we're gonna do item meta equals to item.getItemMeta. And now we're gonna set the display name. So meta.set display name, and inside the brackets we're gonna type our speech marks and copy the color code, the link to the website where all the color codes will be in the description. So we're going to type in boomerang as the item's name. Now we can create the lore. So list angle bracket string, then we're going to call it lore equals to a new array list, and then we can put our semicolon. We're going to type lore.add, put our bracket and our speech marks, paste in the color code again and call it legendary. And then we're going to type lore.add again, and we're going to paste our color code, change the 6 to 7 for the gray color, and we're going to call it, actually we're not going to do that first. We're going to paste in our color code and we're going to say boomerang powers. I guess I do not have any other good lore names, I guess, ability names. So we're just going to do another lore.add and do this, change the 6 to 7 to make it green color. We're going to say shoots out a boomerang, and then we are going to use another line because it's going to be, we do not want it to be too long. So paste the color code, change it back to 7, and we're going to say that deals damage. Then we're going to set we're going to put our semicolon again and do meta.set lore, and in the brackets we're just going to put lore, and then we're going to do item.set item meta and put our meta inside. And finally we can do our boomerang equals to our item. So the boomerang was the item stack that we created earlier all the way on the top. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to head into our init class or our initialization, and we're going to type in create boomerang. There we go. So that's the item created. Now we're going to head on to the commands. So we're going to go to our commands. There's in the next video I'm going to be doing a video on how to create commands. So this is basically a continuous. So all this has been done in the first episode itself. Link will be in the description again. So we're just gonna type if cmd.getName dot equals ignore case. In the brackets, we're gonna type our speech marks, and the command will not goof, but the command will be give a boomerang. That's the wrong spelling again. Then we can put our curly brackets, and we'll do clear, which is basically the command sender. Player.getInventory.addItem, and in the brackets we're going to put ItemManager, which is our ItemManager class. That's the wrong spelling. .Boomerang. So whenever they type give boomerang, type slash give boomerang, it will give them the boomerang straight into their inventory. So the next thing is we're going to head into our main class and type in this .get command, and inside the bracket we're going to type in the exact same thing that we typed inside our commands class, which is give boomerang. So we're going to head in here and type in give boomerang, and then we're going to type set executor, and in brackets we're going to type new commands. The commands is basically what you name your commands class. Now with that done, we can head on to resources and click on plugin.yml. Then under our commands, we can list our command here and call it give boomerang. This also has to be the same as whatever we wrote over here. So give boomerang, and we're gonna put its description as gives a boomerang to the player, and its usage will be set as set as a slash angle bracket command angle bracket. So that's basically the command's done. Now we're going to move on to the function of the function of the item. For our items function, we are going to go ahead and create a new Java class and name it boomerang. Then we can type in implements listener as what we usually do for an events class. First of all, we're going to be creating a constructor. So we're going to type in the name of the plugin, which can be found right here. And we're going to type plugin with a semicolon. Then we're going to type public boomerang, which is the class name, and open a bracket and type in the plugin name again with plugin. Then we can type this.plugin equals to plugin inside the curly brackets. Now we can move on to our addEvent handler and create a public void on interact as its name. And in the bracket we can put that's the wrong one. Player interact event and event. And put our curly brackets. Then we can type in player equals to events.getPlayer. And we can type our semicolon. Now we're going to compare whether or not our player is holding a boomerang. So we can type in if our player.getInventory, that's not a dot, .getInventory.getItem in main hen .getItemMeta .getLore .contains, and then we can go ahead and put a speech marks inside brackets and go into our item manager class and copy and paste a line of lore that will not be repeated in another item. And the reason why we're going to be using lore to compare instead of the display name is because players can change the display name of the item, but they can't change the lore, so it's kind of safer. Now we can put our curly brackets, and first of all, we're going to create an armor stand. Basically, how this is going to work is that we're going to create an invisible armor stand and make the armor stand hold a bone. And then we're going to move the armor stand and make the arm rotate. So it makes it look as if the boomerang's rotating. So we're going to do an armor stand and call it AS. Then we're going to put equals to a bracketed armor stand to make sure that it is indeed an armor stand and not any other random entity. And we're going to do player.getWorld.spawn entity, and in the first part we're going to put a location. So we're going to type player.getLocation, and then we're going to put a comma and type in the entity type, which would be the armor stand. So entities type.armorStat, and we are going to put our semicolon and create a location, and we are going to name it destination. equals to player.getLocation dot add player.getLocation, and then we're gonna do dot get direction dot multiply by 10. Then we're gonna put our semicolon. Then we are going to import location. Now we are going to customize our armor stand. I hope customize the right word. So we're gonna type as.set arms as true, and then we're going to type as.set gravity as false. So this time we'll make it have arms, and this time we'll make it so that it does not fall down. Then we're going to set this invisible, so we're going to type as.set visible as false. Then we are going to set the item in the armor stand's hand. So we're going to type as.set item in hand as a new item stack. In the brackets, we're going to type its material, which is a bone. Then we're going to import both material and item stack. Now we're going to set the bone to be horizontal. So as dot set right arm pose as a new Euler angle. In the bracket, we're going to type math.toRadians as 0. And outside the bracket, we're going to not outside. Then the next one, we're going to type math.toRadians and put 120. And finally, we're going to do math.toRadians again and put 0. So that's that. And then we are going to now remove the boomerang from the player's inventory. So player.getInventory.remove item and put in item manager, or the class where the item was created, and put boomerang and our semicolon. Then now we can create a new vector, and we're just going to name it vector equals the destination dot subtract, and then we're going to do player.getLocation, and then outside the bracket we are going to type .toVector. There we go. And then we're going to import vector. Now we are going to start moving and rotating the boomerang. So in order to do this, we're gonna need to create a new bookit runnable. A bookit runnable is basically like just a timer. So it's gonna run the specific set of code every how many ticks. So first of all, we are going to do int and call it distance equals to 40. This int 40 is basically how far the boomerang will go. So for example, if you want it to move slightly further, you can increase the 40 to a bigger number. And if you want the boomerang to go shorter, you can decrease the 40 to a smaller number. Then we are going to type int I equals to 0. This is just a comparison. So we are just going to use it to compare. Then we are going to do a public void run, the bracket and curly bracket. Then we're going to create a new Euler angle and name it rod, which is basically just rotation. But I'm lazy to type the entire thing. And we're going to type as.getRightArmPose and type our semicolon. Now we're going to create a new Euler angle and call it rod new, which is basically new rotation, and put rod.add 0, 20, 0. This is basically just this is basically how the boomerang will rotate. Now we are actually gonna start rotating it. So as.set right arm pose as rod new. So that's how it's gonna rotate, and then we're gonna do an if statement. I'm gonna be explaining whatever lines of code that come after this if statement in a bit using paint. If our I is more than or equal to our distance, we are going to start teleporting the armor stand. So we're going to do as.teleport and in the bracket, we're going to type as.getLocation dot subtract. I need a bracket. Dot subtract, and in the bracket, we're going to put vector dot normalize. Then we're going to put the semicolon. Then we can type in if our I is more than or equal to distance multiplied by 2, then we are going to remove the understand because you have returned to player already, and we are going to refund the boomerang. So player.getInventory.addItem ItemManager.Boomerang, and put our semicolon, and we're going to cancel the bucket runnable. And the reason why we have to cancel it is so that it will not run, it will not continuously run. Otherwise, it will waste a lot of, it will waste a lot. I don't know what it's called, but it would slow down the server. Let's just put it as that. And we're gonna create an else statement and say as.teleport. In the bracket, we're gonna type as.getLocation dot add. In the bracket, we're gonna type vector dot normalize. So that's the teleporting done. And now all we have to do is just do I++ and put our semicolon. Basically what I++ means is just I equals I plus 1, just in case. So I'm going to use paint to, trusted paint to just explain this entire process right here. So I'm just gonna snipping tool it if you don't mind. I'm just gonna snipping tool it so that we can paste it into our paint. There we go. Now we can explain through here. So we do not want black. It's gonna be hard to see. We're just gonna use this color. So for the first part, we're gonna take a look at this. Okay, and the reason why we're doing this is so that it's gonna be slightly simpler to explain. And we're gonna use black ink to draw our player, and this is how far the boomerang will go. And then you will make a rotation back, and this will be 40. Okay, so now for this part is basically the opposite of whatever is in here because it's an else statement. So this will only run if our I is less than our distance. So our distance is 40 preset, and then we are just going to draw a number line here. So every time our I will increase by 1, right? So 1 and so on and so forth. So the first times we can actually look that whenever our I is 240, what just happened? I do not know. When our I is 240, we want it to move away from us. So it's gonna run this line of code, teleport it, and add. So it's gonna add vector away. So it's gonna go further and further away from us. Then once it reaches 41, we want it to come back, and we do not want it to continue moving forward. So what we do is that since our I is 41 and is more than our distance already, so it's going to run this line of code right here. It's going to run this line of code, and over here we can see the word subtract, which means it is decreasing. So it's going to come back to our player. Okay, then we know in this part we put if our I is more than our distance multiplied by 2. Our distance preset is 40. Distance times 2 is 80. So it's basically the distance taken to run one full loop. Because this is 40 and this is 40 again. So we just add them together so that it goes back to the same place. Then what you'll do, because it has already reached the player and we do not want it to continue moving, we will just get rid of it. So we are going to remove the boomerang. We're going to despawn it. We're going to refund the player back for the boomerang, and we're going to cancel the scheduler so that it won't do anything else. So that's basically a rough explanation on how that few lines of codes work. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing, I guess. Now we're going to start with our damage. So we are going to do an enhanced for loop. So we're going to type in for entity, and then we're going to type our colon as.getLocation.getChunk.getEntities. So this basically just gets all the entities in the boomerang's chunk. Then we are going to write an if statement if our as.getLocation dot distance squared, and then inside the bracket we're going to type entity.getLocation, and outside the bracket we're going to type is less than 1. Basically what this line of code means is that it's going to compare whether or not our entity that is in the chunk is within 1 block of our boomerang. This is so that we can make sure that our boomerang doesn't like kill all the entities in the chunk. So you only kill those that are within 1 block of the the boomerang. Now we're going to type in our curly brackets, and we are also going to type if our entity is not equals to our player. This is so that let's just say that you are shooting the boomerang and running and sprinting forward. It's gonna kill you if you do not put this line of code, and we do not want that to happen. Then the next step will be living entity, and we're not gonna name the entity. We're gonna name it living entity equals to bracketed living entity. And the reason why we are doing this and not just directly using entity and damaging it is because entities involve other entities such as minecarts and TNT, which do not have health. So we have to convert it to a living entity, so it's like something like zombie or a player, and then only we can damage it from there. So we can type in living entity dot damage, and in the bracket we are going to type in how much damage we want our boomerang to deal. And for me, I'm just going to type in 1000 because I like it to one shot everything. And over here for the entity source we're going to type player, so that it does not. So for example, if the player manages to like slay another player with the boomerang, we have to give the player some credit. So instead of making the death message say that player just dies, that player dies, we're gonna make it so that it will say player was slain by player, something like that. Yeah, then we'll actually notice that there is an error here, but we do not need to really worry that much. We just need to type in dot run task timer and put our plugin here, which is why we needed our constructor right at the beginning. Put our comma, put 1L, and put 1L again. Basically, and put our semicolon, is very important. What L means is that it's a long data type, and all these are in ticks. And just a quick note that a second has 20 ticks. Yeah. So then we can type in event.setCancel as true. We have to cancel the event, otherwise whenever we whenever we shoot the boomerang, it will crash the server. Yeah. Now we are going to create another event handler. So we're going to type at event handler, and you'll see why we need to do another one in a minute, and type in public void on, let's just say on entity. It doesn't really matter what we name or what we name it. And we're going to type player interact at entity event and type in event. And the reason why we are creating this is because when we shoot the boomerang, we are creating an armor stand, and the player will be able to take the bone of the armor stand. So basically they'll be able to duplicate bones, and we do not want that to happen, so we're going to cancel that here. Then we're going to type if our event.get right click instance of an armor stand. So it will only run whatever's in here if the entity that the player clicked is an armor stand. Then we are going to type armor stand, and we're going to type AS again because why not? And then we're going to type the same thing, armor stand, but this time we're going to put event.get right click. So it's going to get the it's going to get the entity that the player right click on. Then we're going to run another if statement. If our as.getItem in hand dot get type dot equals to material dot bone. So basically what this if statement checks is that whether or not our armor stand is holding a bone. If it's holding a bone, we're just going to cancel the event. So event.cancel equals true. So the player cannot take the bone out of the armor stand's hand. Yeah. So they do not duplicate bones, I guess. Yeah, so that's the function done. Now all we have to do is head on to our main class and register event. So this .get server .get plugin manager .register events. In the bracket we're going to type new boomerang, which is our class, and since we created a constructor we have to type this inside the bracket, and we have to go outside the bracket, type a comma, and this again. So that's all done. Now we can go ahead and build the artifacts, and I will see you in the test server, I guess. Alright, we are back here in the test server. We can go ahead and run the give boomerang command, and it will give us this boomerang. Then we can right click or we can left click on it, and it will summon this boomerang. Then if okay, then if we go ahead and hit a squid or something, it will indeed deal damage to the I just totally missed that. It will deal damage to it. Then we can also see that it does have yeah, it does have custom lore, custom everything. So yeah, that's that then. So that's that for today's video, I guess. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. And if you do have other suggestions and other ideas of plugins that you want me to put in the future, please feel free to leave a comment down below. And with that all said, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you when I see you in the next video. Bye!